Hello and welcome, I'm Peasant, and today I'm going to be telling you my top 10 minor powers for River, but there's a whole extra load of stuff to think about, which is to do with their innate, and that is a massive influencer on what are and are not the best powers for River. So you'll notice massive flooding pictured here. This top tier of your innate is absolutely critical to the standard game plan with River, which is doing this. These are your starting cards, and you'll notice that these elements line up perfectly to hit the top tier of this innate once you get to 4 plays and can play all of them. The beauty of picking cards with the correct elements with River is that it means that you can potentially be hitting this top tier multiple times without reclaiming. Now, you don't want to be reclaiming because it's good to have as much presence on the board as possible. It means you're going to have more energy, potentially more plays. You're going to be better. You're just going to be better. And you got to wiggle your ear around like this. You're just going to be better, right? So that's the main thing, and that's why almost all of the cards we're going to look at are going to have exactly the matching elements. Moving swiftly on, we've got a whole load of runners up as well. Now, the interesting thing back to the elements. The interesting thing with these elements is that kind of you're looking for recruits to substitute for some of these cards, so that when you're playing all 4 of these cards, you can then switch out for a better one. For example, here, Flash Floods, it's a good card, and this extra damage means that if you are going to use this innate to do 2 damage to every invader, you can use this extra damage to maybe clear a city that's in that land as well. Okay, that's great, but this is a 2-cost card, so it's kind of expensive. If you want to play the spirit well, I think it's better to go plays pretty heavily, pretty early, and neglect that top track. So you're looking for a replacement for Flash Floods. You're also potentially looking for replacements for some of these other cards, and so that's the lens you want to be using, he says. I'm qualified to talk about lenses because I've got 2 of these that just live on my face. You'll notice that this 4 water, so water element is critical, but you also notice that the 3 sun, 4 water, 1 mountain. The mountain you're going to pick up incidentally, and pretty much one of your best start cards is this Wash Away that has the water mountain on, but you notice it doesn't have the sun on it. Getting perfect elements is really good. Okay, so here are some runners up, and basically just useful cards that have water or water and sun on. So Teeming Rivers is a blight removal card, which is relevant for River because we're still in runners up now, because it has the good elements, right? But the way I like to play River is I'm typically dragging a whole load of invaders into one land and then eventually hitting them with my net and clearing all of them at once. Now, they might blight during that time, so if you can just clear the blight that's there, that's all good, because then you can just let them ravage again and maybe focus on something that's more pressing. So this is particularly good for that reason. So you've got any kind of utility cards that are also water, like defend cards are good. You do have a naturally good way of even creating Dahan and moving them around in your start hand. This River's Bounty is the card you're going to want to be reclaiming once you get your reclaim 1 spot most of the time. Okay, then you've got Voracious Growth. Again, it's blight removal and it has that water on, because crucially, you kind of want all of your cards to have water on. I don't think I recommend any cards about water. Now, there are a couple of edge cases that sometimes will be great and sometimes won't. Morbius, yeah. I'm not just joking around here. This extra damage can mean that you clear a city when you've done your top 2 of your innate, but that's only if you're up to 5 plays. It's a niche situation, but any kind of damage card does have some value. And then if you're playing against invaders that have had their damage buffed, for example, England 5 or 6, this might come in handy to do damage to each. But it's a niche scenario. It's beyond the scope of this video, really. And then we've got, of course, a bit more damage, but again, it's got the water mountain that we like and just generic defend cards. But these are just the runners up, really. These are cards that you are going to like as River, but they're not necessarily, they're not the top. They're not the top 10. And now we are into the top 10. Look at all that preambling. At least I'm telling you stuff, right? So here we go. Number 10, Blood Draws Predators. So it hasn't got the perfect elements because it doesn't have the mountain, but it's got the critical ones, which are, of course, water and sun. And then the actual effect is nice too because it's extra damage. So remember, if you do this, you're doing 2 damage to each invader, which is not enough to kill a city. However, if you do bread draws predators, then this is the extra damage you can use to destroy cities. Because if your cities are still standing, you've kind of, it's not ideal. So that's number 10. Number 9, Gift of Power. Rare. So this is a rare card. It has the water, of course, but it doesn't have the sun. But the effect of gaining minor power cards is wonderful. If you play the spirit the way I tend to play the spirit, which I'm not suggesting you have to, but You know, it's advised. You're going to have a lot of plays, and you don't really want to be reclaiming, because you've got wonderful ability to place multiple presents in a turn, which is good, especially if you get into a blighted island. You like to have the extra presents. This is going to give you the minor powers to help you. I mean, the fact it has mountains is also useful, because remember, you do need a mountain for massive flooding. So yeah, and it's 0 cost as well. And you might have energy problems if you do kind of head down, if you do skip the top track till the late game, which is, I think that's the way to play it. All right, let's give to power. That was number 9, I think. I can count. Number 8. This, I think, is, no, this one doesn't even have water on it. But this is a super powerful card, and it's for your off turns, really. Or if you get to 5 plays, then you've kind of got a bit more freedom, because it's fast blight removal, which is just a problem solver. You can yoink that blight out from underneath the car, underneath the incoming ravage, and you've kind of saved the day. And you're going to have the water elements to get this fast blight removal. But yeah, this is the only one that doesn't have water elements. Oh yeah, so Uncanny Melting did make it in. Here it is. That's our glamorous number 7. So it has, of course, it has the day and the water, and it's blight removal, so it means you can snack your enemies and then yoink the blight. And you can even plan it. You can yoink the blight at the same time it's placed, and then you're just chuckling to yourself. There's a happy babbling little brook. Like calls to like, again, per the ideal, this nearly ideal elements. And this also has the ability to drag in extra towns and explorers, which is what you want as River. You want to be dragging every last explorer, every last town into the same land, and then going splat. So yeah, it's kind of ideal for that. Obviously, against some adversaries, this plan is not as ideal. Like, for example, England. If you drag in 7, you just lose. So don't do that. Don't do that. Okay, Elemental Boon. Yes. And this is the spirit that you don't typically need to go mages with. And I'm still recommending Elemental Boon, because having these perfect elements is wonderful. It's wonderful. You might want to go... This is probably one of the few spirits where I don't think you really need to go mages. You might have a situation later on in the game where you've kind of got the energy lying around and then you decide to, but that's how much I rate having the right elements. I mean, incidentally, the tier 2 on this innate is really good as well. You're pushing 3 towns or explorers, and you're doing 2 damage. This is a very powerful spirit. Just because it is the spirit I recommend to beginners does not mean it is weak. No. And then we are into the last stretch, and last minute adjustments. Yeah, okay. So number 4, we have, it's a card with the perfect elements. That costs 0. So although these abilities here are kind of neither here than there, moving stuff around the coast, it's all right. If you're playing this spirit well, you will be placing presents each turn, so you can just place the presents so you've got the 0 range. The nice thing about this is you're saving your energy, which means you've got it for events or for saving up for a major or something like that. And the way I like to play the spirit, I tend to have one of the lands on the coast where I try and push all the invaders, and then one inland. So having a bit of coastal push, does have some utility, but this is almost entirely for the elements and at 0 cost. What a bargain. Here we go. It cycles of time and tide, which it's one of the rare ways of actually adding Dahan from the minor power deck. Is it? I suppose Call of the Dahan Ways does it as well. But again, perfect elements and the blight removal helps you with your project of getting them together before you slap them. Okay, and then our top 2 now are Encompassing Ward, which has the perfect elements. The perfect elements, this frees you up to then use other minor powers that you might not be so keen on, because it means that you no longer have to play, you're no longer forced to play Wash Away to get the Water Mountain. You're no longer, it means that how you play your start hand becomes far more flexible. Because if you look again at these start cards, you'll notice that none of them actually have the perfect elements. They're all missing something. But having Encompassing Ward means that you are much freer to kind of play the cards. Actually useful. I mean, River start cards are generally pretty good, but this is a big freeing move. It saves you from having to pay the 2 energy for Flash Floods, and it's a useful effect as well for you, because as a spirit that can place two presents a turn, you'll get the effect of the card is useful too. And finally, drum roll please. Our top card, Sky Stretches to Shore. So perfect elements, and the effect is super useful because it's almost as if massive flooding is the key to this. It's a slow power that you can make fast. The range thing's nice too, but mainly especially in a close game, be able to do this before the Ravage could be the difference between winning and losing. And even if you're using it on another player, because there are, you know, if you can afford to wait till the slow phase, it's generally better because you're going to have more stuff to destroy. More things to destroy equals more fear equals quicker wins. You can give this to, you can play this on a teammate, and most teammates will be very, very thrilled to have had that played on them. Anyway, what do you think of that? Any disagreements? Anything I've missed there? I mean, yeah, I did kind of, you know, look through all the cards. I looked through all the cards, and I kind of think that just the elements are so crucial with this spirit. Very little off brand on this one. Anyway, like the video if you like the video, and I'll catch you in the future.